Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Strat Gamer here, providing you with a new Anno 1800 episode. And as you can see, we're going to talk about ships today. And I hope you can see on the screen some ships you don't recognize. Indeed, we're going to look at 4 different modes, which are going to introduce 10 new ships. Some of them may look similar to what you know, but they actually have different characteristics, and some of them, I hope, don't look familiar. So we're definitely going to go into details in those 10 ships. Before we do that, um, don't hesitate to check out my previous video that I made, sort of an overview of all the base game ships, including the one that you get from the pirates, etc., and also the best items for those ships. This video will appear now at the top, and you can also find it in the description below. And now let's dive into those modes, and we're gonna go one by one. The first one is The Art of Gold by John Spock. Thank you, John Spock, for that one. It's a very special one. You can see it here with its gold, Art of Gold. You can see it does look full of gold. It's very similar in terms of asset to this one that we're going to look at later, but it does have very special characteristic. You can see this item here, Marvin, which gives you sort of this. Here you can see the speed. How so many zeros do we have here? It's like 1 trillion, 89 million knots. So basically what it means is instantaneous. Wherever you want to go, it just gets there right away. So that's of course definitely a big ship. I'm not gonna say, that for your normal games or fights, that's a bit unfair to the AI, but still very interesting. It does bring other elements like cargo slowdown, damage slowdown minus 100%. So that obviously helps a lot for all of this. It there's nothing much else, and to build it, it's just in your normal shipyard. You can see it here now. 15 minutes here, a number of resources needed. Yeah, 24 of influence. So unless you have unlimited influence with a mod or with Wii mode, then you're gonna be limited on how many you can get, but still, that's very, very powerful. That's the first one, just one ship, but a very interesting one. And as I said, this ship does look very similar to the Battleship you can see here. So let's look at this one now. This is a Battleship mode by Ghostbuster. As always, of course, I will post all of this in the description below. If you want to download them or get details in particular on their stats, the stats are almost always well described in the description of the mode. For this one, a couple of interesting elements. The first one is that you will unlock it in your Steam shipyard with 3,000 investors. So it's not just update, unlock by default. You do need to reach a certain element. And then there's high hit points, but it's rather slow, right? And it sort of makes sense because it's a big ship. If you compare to the battle cruiser here, which is the normal battle cruiser in game, it's definitely bigger, right? You can see. And if you look at here, 9 knots for this one, and this one 8 knots. But the damage per second is 110, and for this one it's only 42. That's definitely a big difference there. It's interesting asset. I love the light that you can see here. Towers on all sides. Okay, now let's take a look at the shipyard once again, and you see it here. 15 minutes, 24 influence 2. The resources are definitely less for that one, so that's good. And once again, a reminder is that it's unlocked at 3,000 investors, so that's what you need. Okay, so that was the second mode and the second one, new ship by Ghostbuster. Now let's move to the Ironclad by Ghostbuster again. And let's, while we're here, this is the one next to it. The 2 cargo slots, 3 item slots, damage per second 38, so very close to our normal battle cruiser at 40 here. 9 influence, so that's definitely not a lot. And as you can see also for the weapons, it's not a lot, including, it's the base weapon, not the advanced weapons like this one. That's quite interesting, and 8 minutes. Now let's go back to the fleet that's in the ocean and see it here. It's this one. And I put it next to the normal monitor. So this is the normal monitor, right? And you can see here the Ironclad. So a bit bigger, but definitely smaller than these ones. And you can see the damages per second, the speed. So speed here is at 10.9 versus, remember the 8 around here. This one we haven't looked at yet. And the 9 here. And this one is at 10.92. So here's the Ironclad. To unlock it, it's actually not investors, but only 750 engineers. So that's definitely easier to unlock. What's also interesting about this is if you do look closely, it's kind of very similar to the Pythorian warship. So the sort of size and shape is very similar. The skin is very different, of course. You don't see the classic red of the Pythorians. And one interesting element is that it does fire from the side. You can see here with those cannons, and also from the front. That's quite interesting. So good, very good, I would say, sort of mid-game ship, right? But because as we've seen, early engineers, not a lot of resources to build it. So all great stuff for this mid-game. End game, it may become, of course, a bit overpowered by all the other ships. And then the fourth mode, which has a lot of ships, is the modern sail ships. And this one, will introduce 7 new ships. This is actually a mod that's not really maintained anymore. So some will see one part of the mod actually doesn't work anymore, and it's not maintained anymore because this mod has been included now into a bigger mod, which is the military mod, which I'm sure we're gonna look at some point. But because I wanted to focus now on purely on ships, I think it was a good mod to show, and in particular because it still works, as you'll see. The first thing that it does is actually introduce a new shipyard that you can see here. I've built it here. So it does look similar to the normal shipyard, but you can see the ships definitely don't. How do you unlock that one? This is actually with your artisans. So your normal shipyard that you know is here. Sailing shipyard is with the workers. Now this one is with the artisans. And if you remember, the last one comes with the engineers, right? This one here, the steam shipyard. So it sort of introduces a middle ground, and it can be good, when the pirates are starting to get strong, but you're not there, you're not at the engineers yet. To have this advanced shipyard can help. So you can see I've built it here, and it does introduce 5 ships. The Royal Clipper, the Royal Galleon, the Steamship, the Black Hunter, and the Black Warship, which are all over here with the rest of the fleet. And you can see that in terms of sort of shape and skin, they're actually quite similar to base game ships, but they do have different characteristics. So if we look at the Royal Clipper, it's slightly faster than the Clipper, more agile, and definitely a unique icon and all of this. That's the big difference here. Then you have your I think this is the one. No, sorry, this is this one. The Royal Gallon. Once again, different icon, sort of similar to normal gallons in terms of asset, but not completely. See a bit some differences. Pretty great. It has 5 slots, so that's definitely new. Plus, with the 3 items on top of that. So it's pretty good to transport things, and doesn't have that much defenses. You can see only 5,000 hit points. It has fairly good speed at 22 for when it's with the wind. Then you have the Black Hunter here. Similar a bit to the frigate, but new skin definitely. Pretty nice. It's a fast one, so you can catch up with anything, but at the same time, the damage per second is only 13, right? So that's not that great. You can see the max sail speed at 28. That's pretty good. So this one, you can catch up on people, but at the same time, if you only have one, you're not gonna do a lot of damage. So that's something to watch out for. Then the black warship we saw here, once again, a bit similar to the normal ship of war, but definitely different skin, including a bit of steam here. So we're once again is between the normal sailing ships and the first steamship. We're a bit in the middle. That makes sense for the skin. And it's fairly good hit point, 5,000. The speed is not that great, 14 the maximum, but the damage per second is pretty good, 62. So that one, you could defend maybe some of your ships or harbor. It's not really to follow some quick ships, but more to defend, I would say. So that's the fourth one. And then the fifth one, as you can see, really similar to the Extravaganza in terms of shape, but the logo is definitely, the logo is definitely different. It's the steamship, so it's sort of the first steamship you can have without even having steam yet, in a sense. It's not very fast, right? Only 10.6, and it's still linked to the wind, right? It's not linked to steam, but at the same time, not that much, right? Like it's between 8.6 and 10.6. So the against the wind versus behind the wind actually doesn't affect that much. 3 slots, 2 items. So that's again not that much. But each of those slots actually has 75 instead of 50. That does help a bit. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the hit points, only 1,500. So really not that much. These are the 5 that you can build with this new Team Advanced Shipyard. Sorry about that. That you can see here. Influence not that much, right? And the cost is okay. 6 minutes, 3 influence, 6 influence, 10 minutes. Still limited cost. This one 4 minutes and 2 influence. So they're pretty good. Once again in your middle game, right? They're definitely not for your end game, but bridge between the worker shipyard and the engineer shipyard, that's pretty good. And then you have 2 other in the steam yard. So for that, we can go here and you will see them after. So it's those 2. First one is a huge freighter, and then the second one is the Red Star cruiser. So we can see them here too. The Red Star is this one. It is similar in terms of shape and asset and skin to the Beforeian one. And then this one is definitely different. As you can see, it's bigger than all of the other ones. definitely bigger than your normal cargo one, but also bigger than the Extravaganza and Great Eastern that are both here. It does have 6 and 3, so that's one more item socket than the normal cargo ship. And also on top of that is that each of these cargo slots can hold 100 instead of 50. So that's basically the equivalent of 12, 12 of those slots here. So that's definitely big change. It is, if you look at this one, when you have the elite magnet that gives you plus 25% speed, this is at 30 knots, which is pretty good. This one actually is only at 12.8 because it doesn't get affected by this bonus. It's a bit the same problem that we had with the reefer at the beginning. Now they have fixed that, but before, when they introduced it, they forgot to put the bonus. So basically the reefer was less good than everything else. And in this one, it's a bit similar where I think when it was created, it was supposed to be faster, but now it's not faster because it doesn't have the bonus. But still, it's 12 slot plus one more item socket. So that can definitely be a great ship. And then for the Red Star Cruiser, it's sort of similar to your battle cruiser that you can see here, but with a bit of better everything. If we take a quick look here, it's 9.3, 6,042. We're at 13.3, 7,548. So everything is better, especially the speed is definitely better. So that's pretty good, even if it's not impacted once again by the magnet one. Actually, none of them are here. True, the magnet is only for the transport one, right? Anyway, so that's those two Steam ones that once again you just find directly here. What is worth noting though is that for the Red Star Battlecruiser, you do need 10,000 investors to unlock it. So this one is 10,000 investors. Also, the influence cost is a bit heavy, 18. Less heavy than those two that were at 24, but more than the normal Battlecruiser at 12. And for this one, we're talking only about 4 influence, right? Versus this one is 3. But once again, this one is 6 slot. This one is basically 12 slot. So that's definitely a great one for big empires. If I were a bit in a cheating mindset, I would definitely have a lot of huge freighter instead of all of my ship currently who take me a lot of influence, especially this Travaganza, which are at 6 influence, right? So here only 4, that would help a lot. So here we've seen all 10 new ships that can really add a lot to your military fleet, also to your transport trade fleet. There is one more thing that we do need to see, which is this mod initially added an airfield, as you can see here, airship hall, and it's actually in the Obreros airship hall here, to the new world. And in that one, you were able to create a simple airship, but it doesn't work anymore. That's what I was mentioning earlier on the fact that this mod is not maintained anymore, so not everything is still working, and this is basically the sort of broken part, the main broken part. Apart from that, this great mod by Danny is really bringing a lot, right? A new shipyard, 5 new sailing ship, let's say, and 2 late game ones, one for the transport and one for military. So that can really make your your fleets a lot more interesting and a lot more varied. We will, as I said, probably look in the future at the military mode that includes most of this, but still wanted to focus on these new ships. As always, the description to those 4 mods will be in the description below. Don't hesitate to share any feedback to this episode or any requests that you may have for future mods. And thank you for watching.